so you were on tour for, what, 2 years with Foos, and then you think, I'm going to sit down, put my feet up.
Mm-hmm.
No. You make an album. How do you have time? How do you have the energy for it?
Well, I have a home studio, first of all, like most people do now. And that's just what I do for fun, is write and record music. And Foo Fighters it's primarily Dave's band, so the songs are primarily written by Dave. We all get involved in the sort of arranging. And I actually did get to write a song on the last record, or write the lyrics and the melody for the Sunday Rain, was the last record, which Sir Paul McCartney played drums on, which is amazing. But no, it's just what I do for fun.
And you were recording between dates, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've literally come home because, we do these legs of tours. So say, we'll go do the UK for 2 weeks, and then we'll have 2 weeks off. And so I get home, spend the first 2 days kissing my wife's butt because she's been taking care of the kids, with a little help, but she's been taking care of the kids and dealing with that life, which is actually hard work. Trying to get a 10-year-old to do their homework is not easy work. And so first couple days I kind of re-enter the family unit. And then once I see the coast is kind of cleared a little bit, I would call my buddy John Lou Stowe, and say, all right, come over to the house. And I was really breaking in that room as far as it's my guest house, and I turned it into my, as they call, man cave now. I hate that word, I hate that term, but so it's filled with rock memorabilia, and it literally looks like a classic rock thrift shop. It's really great, actually. And I've just started building up gear, and now I have a really decent little recording studio over there, and I just loved the room, and I loved the fact that I could be home recording from noon until 4, and then my kids would run in and tell me how crap it was.
You're not a cool dad then.
Huh?
You're not a cool dad then.
Is there such thing as a cool dad? I mean, I feel like there's moments, every once in a while, my son, I don't know, we were Madison Square Garden, and he just sat behind me the whole time. I kept looking back, and he would be behind my monitors or whatever, and he thought that was pretty cool. It's Madison Square Garden. It's pretty cool, Dad. So no, I mean, but generally, no. If your kids think you're cool, then your kids are real dorks. Sorry. If your kid thinks you're cool, your kid's a dork. But that's okay to have a dork too. Dorks are necessary.
Dorks are good.
Dorks are good. I wish my kids were dorks.
With rock and roll kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sort of. My son's more an athlete guy, but he's a drummer as well. It's good.
So your last, the mini LP that was under your own name, you said was a meditation on life as a rock star stranded in the suburbs. How would you describe that?
Well, that was definitely some fancy wording done by our publicist in New York, Steve Martin, actually. But we talked about, sort of. I think I was going to call this record More Tales from Suburban Hell, which is not hell really, but it's just ridiculous, and I live in a neighborhood where the Kardashians live, and Drake and people like that, and it's insane. And they all live in these asshole castles, these big giant houses, and it's a gated community, and it's in Calabasas, and I just kind of marvel that I'm there sometimes. I mean, I love my house, and I love the fact that I have space there, and it's the suburbs, essentially. It's like living in Surrey for England or whatever, which is where a lot of the rock dudes live. So I think it's more tales from that, but I mean, I'm only gonna write from a 47-year-old's perspective. I'm not, there's not gonna be any 20-year-olds going, wow, I really feel his pain, They would never, I'm not even gonna try. So I'm really speaking to, people in a similar situation, which is most 47-year-olds or 40-somethings, who are raising kids in this time period of Instagram and all this other stuff and all these outside things, and trying to So there's songs about my kids. There's a song called Middle Child, which is about my middle child, which is the song that is the single here. And literally, I had written a song about my son called Son of Mine. And it ended up getting dropped because it wasn't very good. I sent it to Josh Homme. I said, what do you think of this song? He goes, are you working on the Shrek soundtrack? And I was like, wow, dude. Thanks a lot. And then I played it for my son. He's like, if you put this on your record, I'm going to punch you in the face. It was light. It was soft. But it was sweet. It was called Son of Mine. Anyways, so my middle child, being the middle child, said, you have to write a song about me now. So I said, okay, I will. And literally, I was tracking a song that day, and Dave was coming over. And I had done a demo without lyrics 3 years ago of this song, and just a riff I'd like. And that morning is when she had told me that I was to write a song about her. I'm like, well, that's such a middle child thing to do. So, me, don't forget about me. Poor thing. She's got a desperately cute little daughter and a son who's just always giving us grief. So she's the middle child, you know. So she really, you really see that, you know. That's a real thing. I was the baby. I'm a spoiled brat. So yeah, that's about my middle child, Annabelle. You're no good at life no more. That's about me and my wife having an argument, and I think I've said something to that. I think I said it to my friend afterwards, like, and then we went, oh shoot, that's a great song title. So then I just kept writing about that. Queen of the Clowns is about 1 or 2 or 5 or 20 or 30 of the women that live in my neighborhood. These yoga outfitted, just so much makeup, like, my kid's going to the best school in the world type ladies. These, kind of like, what was that show that Reese Witherspoon had a couple of years ago? My wife watched it and she made me watch it with her.
Big Little Lies?
Yes. It's kind of like that, like those kind of women, because women rule the world where I live, and men are just like, here, sorry, please. So that's kind of that's a composite of a few different folks in my neighborhood, girls, ladies. Yeah, they're all kind of like I said, speaking from a 47-year-old dad living in the suburbs.
And you said if you took my entire record collection, put it in a bong and smoked it, it's pretty much the album.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's anyone's record, really. I mean, I think, an Oasis record is it's a conglomeration of the Beatles and the Stone Roses, mostly, and then a lot of other stuff in between, I think Queen were mining the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Yes and all that stuff when they started. And I think that's pretty safe to say for anything. And Nirvana is like Black Flag meets the Beatles, The Beatles are generally the sort of Bible for rock music, I think, for Led Zeppelin or anyone. I mean, if there were no Beatles, there might have been someone else that would have came along and wrote that book, but no, you can't beat the Beatles. You can't beat the Beatles. Has that ever been said before? Get it?
Said now.
Beat
I like it.
the Beatles.
And you've described the all-star cast involved as ridiculous. It is. The names are incredible.
It's ridiculous that all those amazing people would actually be on the drummer from the Foo Fighters record. My vanity project. But yeah, I mean, I was just lucky enough to have friends in high places. I can go through all of them. Not Liam Gallagher, I asked him to do it. He was going to actually sing on I Blew It, but it's kind of a racy lyric. Eat these balls if you're going to take them. It's another marriage song. And I think he had just gotten in a little bit of trouble. He's like, oh, man, I can't do that. I got enough heat on me now. I'm like, okay. So I actually got Perry Farrell to do it, which was awesome. And he's one of my heroes. He's the singer of Jane's Addiction. Not sure if they ever really made it huge over here. They kind of started to, I think. But, they led the alternative rock revolution, really, before Nirvana even. and they bridged the gap between hard rock and college rock or whatever, which is now called alternative rock. There was no such thing as alternative rock back when I was a kid. These are just terms like grunge rock. I'm sorry, but Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Soundgarden don't sound anything alike. So, but they all got kind of stuck under this grunge thing. But yeah, it's I got Perry Farrell. He's a friend and someone I look up to majorly as a singer. I got Roger Taylor, who's just one of my heroes. He's one of my major inspirations for when I started playing music, and I saw a drummer that could do more than just be a drummer. He could be a singer and make records on his own, and he could sing on Queen records, and he was part of their amazing harmony blend. And you know, he was my first real big inspiration as far as, you know, wanting to do this for my life, you know, wanting music to be my life and wanting to be a drummer, but much more than a drummer. And Dave Grohl, obviously, there's another drummer who can play a lot of other stuff and do a lot more than just play drums. And he's been a major influence on me, and just, I mean, directly, like just literally watching him make records. I mean, that's how I learned to make records, was by watching Dave make records. I used to watch him do a demo like this, and he could make a demo for a song in an hour and a half. And that's where I learned to do it, is just by watching him. And he's on the record. He's all over the place on the record. Who else? Leanne Rhymes. That's just super rando commando. Yeah.
Run?
She what?
Is it true you met her on the school run?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was a school thing for sure. It was some sort of like, some sort of school benefit or something, which everyone does in these things now in LA. And I don't know if they do it here for the private schools here, but which is always amazing to me that they need to raise money for a school that's so fucking expensive. Anyways, she was singing at this thing, kind of uncomfortably, like to some track by herself, and all these like sort of parents watching. Oh, yay! But I thought she was amazing, and I'd never really heard her sing before. I'm not a big country guy, you know. I don't listen to country that much ever. As far as I go, country is like the Eagles or something. But I just loved her voice, and I love the fact that she just did that, and you could tell it was kind of an uncomfortable thing, but she did it. It was awesome. And so I kind of got to know her a little bit then, and then I reached out to her, and I said, hey, I'm making this crazy, all over the place rock and roll record. Would you be interested in come doing a duet with me? And she said yes. And so she came over with her incredibly handsome husband. My wife's jaw hit the floor. Eddie, what's his name? Eddie. I know him now. Eddie, he's super cool. But yeah, he's really handsome. So my wife was happy to see him. And we just got on like a house on fire. So it was good. And then Chrissy Hine, that came through, we had these background singers on the road with us, the Foo Fighters, traveling everywhere with us to sing one song. And they're awesome, they're amazing. And Barbara, one of the singers, she's actually a drummer, and she played drums with Chrissy Hine on a solo tour. And I was telling her about this record, and I was playing her tracks off of it, and she said, well, you should try and get Chrissy. And I said, well, she would never be on my record. She goes, well, I'll email her right now. I'm like, what? Oh, really? And literally, like 10 minutes later, I get an email from Chrissy Hine. She's like, here, you want me to sing on your record? Send me the song. So I sent her the song. She goes, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, well, do you like it? She's like, it's juvenile, but it's okay. And that was Get the Money. And that's neat because Joe Walsh did the guitars on that. And he was actually the one where I got that Get the Money thing. And I was on tour in America on one of these long legs, and in between 3-hour Foo Fighters shows, I'm just knackered, as y'all would say over here. And I called Joe, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this forever, Joe. I just like, you know, it's so hard, and I'm so tired all the time, and 3-hour shows are killing me. And I want to tell you a story. I was lucky to know B.B. King, and I called him once, and I was on the road with the Eagles. I said, hey, baby, I'm tired. I'm sick of Don's crazy and Glenn's an asshole, and I don't want to do this anymore. And BB says to me, Joe, are you getting paid lots of money? Well, yeah. Playing big old places? Well, yeah. Selling tickets? Well, yeah. The whole tour is sold out. Live in a nice house, Joe? It's like, yeah. Got plenty of money, Joe? Yeah. Well, then get the money, Joe. Shut the hell up. Quit being a baby. And that's what Joe said to me. Shut up and get the money, because you're lucky. Because everybody in the world wants to be you. You know, wants to be a rock star, making millions of dollars, which is insane. And I'm lucky enough to say I got that job. And you know, I just you lose perspective sometimes, and that's what that song is about. And the whole lyric is about I'm watching people in my band lose perspective, and I'm watching myself lose perspective, and not really realizing how truly freaking lucky I am. And yeah, so there you go. Who else? Nancy Wilson from Heart.
I was going to say, I wasn't expecting to hear Mark King on this album.
Oh yeah, Mark King.
Sade, anybody?
No, Sade. Maybe next time. Yeah, that I would loved a good friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine, Rebecca. When I was in high school, her stepsister lived in England, and she would bring over her records with her when she would come visit for the summer or whatever. And she was really into Level 42, so we just started listening to them. And they're freaking top-notch musicians. I mean, I know, yeah, it's, you know, people wouldn't think that I would like Level 42 because it's kind of soft funk pop or whatever from the 80s, but they were phenomenal. And they wrote great songs, and Mark's an amazing, obviously, goes without saying, phenomenal bass player, and singer, and songwriter. And I got his number through someone here actually that knew him, a promoter's friend, Russell Woolby's friend. And I called him and I was like, hey dude, I'm making this record. If I send you some, I know you have a home studio, like all of us. Would you be interested? Yeah, man. Why? You like Level 42? I'm like, love Level 42. Love him. If George Michael was still alive, I would have asked him to. That was a loss, man.
Gone too soon.
That was a frickin' loss. Just such a bummer. Me and my daughter and my wife listen Without Prejudice and Faith a lot at the house. Those are great, great, great records. He was a beautiful singer. I met him once when I was playing with Alanis Morissette, and he was really, really nice. Really sweet and really like shy, but really nice. Did you ever interview him?
No.
He didn't do many interviews later on in life, did he?
He was barely seen.
Huh?
Barely seen anyway.
No, I know.
Went very quiet.
It's crazy to go from this to that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's really sad. Can I ask you briefly about your other side project, the Foo Fighters? 25 years coming up. So
25 years since the first Foo Fighters record came out next year. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a celebration, I think.
But can you tell me anything about it?
Not really.
But
I can tell you there will be a record. You know Dave Grohl. He's always got something up his sleeve. So, and I'm usually the last one to know. So.
Is that because you go around telling people like me?
It's because I go around telling people like you. Yeah, you have a big mouth, literally and figuratively.
Well, Dave said it was good. I mean, that's literally the only word that I've heard about it.
Really, who did you say that? It's good. Hopefully they're all good. Yeah, I mean, we're at the fetal stages, so to speak. But it's looking interesting. It's definitely gonna, judging from what I've heard so far and what's going on in his head and the few bits we've done, it's definitely gonna be a different kind of record for us. I mean, we always say that, and everyone's like, it just sounds like a Foo Fighter record. And maybe it'll just sound like a Foo Fighter record to them, but I mean, I think when you're inside it and you see the subtle differences, you know, it's very, very, he's coming from a different perspective altogether. And we're all just trying to keep up.
Interesting, up your game.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about influences drum-wise? I know you've mentioned Roger, but who else really influenced you at the beginning?
Major influences for me as a drummer were Roger Taylor, Stuart Copeland from The Police, obviously. I loved Larry Mullen, like in the first 4 or 5 U2 records, up to like Unforgettable Fire. I was a huge U2 fan of those early records. And Alex Van Halen, of Van Halen, obviously. Phil Collins, one of my favorite drummers ever. People forget that he was a great drummer, as well as a sweater-wearing nice guy from the 80s, poor fella. He's a great drummer, unbelievable drummer, one of my favorites. Steve Perkins from Jane's Addiction was I wanted to be him. If you watch video of me playing with Alanis Morissette back in the mid-90s, I was just like, my drum set up like him, the whole thing. Like, I was still sort of a copycat at that point. It takes a little while to sort of establish your own sort of style. And I didn't sound exactly like him. I sound like me, but he was a huge influence. Definitely. Ian Pace, Deep Purple. Who else do I love? I loved Phil Gould from Level 42 for his smooth, funky style. God, who else? I love Buddy Rich. I love Gene Krupa. I'm not a jazz player, but just watching them and watching the stuff that Buddy Rich could do with his hands is just
Effortless.
It's crazy. No one will ever be that good again. You can go watch a drum solo of Buddy Rich from like when he's like 75. He's like wearing a big sweater and this big gold medallion, and his belly's hanging over his drum, and he's just like doing shit that no one will ever be able to do. Sweat just coming down his nose. It's just unbelievable.
Are you a better drummer than Dave Grohl?
No, I'm not a better drummer than Dave Grohl. At the very least, I would say we're different on a lot of levels. Yeah, we're different. But no, I would say he's better than me. Of course I would, wouldn't I?
Right, I think that. Can I ask one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
This is a really off piece. Did you have a celebrity crush when you were younger?
Oh my God, I had a couple celebrity crushes. Olivia Newton-John, definitely one of my early crushes, big time.
What era?
Grease era, Little More Love era, Magic era. Love Olivia Newton-John. Tried to get her to sing on the record, but she said no. It's random. There was a show in the 80s called Bosom Buddies. And it was Tom Hanks. First time anyone ever really saw Tom Hanks. Just a bad 80s sitcom. But there was a girl in it, and her name was Donna Dixon. And she's married to Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd, I think. And I was in love with her. And Farrah Fawcett, I remember seeing, what was that movie she was in? Where they all live under the sort of bubble thing. They remade it a couple of years ago, and everyone dies at a certain age. Logan's Run. I remember that was on TV when I was a kid. Like I think it was a TV movie maybe when I was a kid. And she died, and I was looking at her on the TV, just going, "Oh my God, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life." And then she dies, and I think I remember crying because she died in the movie, and now she's dead now too. I think I cried then too, but yeah, Farrah Fawcett, Olivia Newton-John, and Donna Dixon, I would say pretty standard crushes for a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, right?
Yeah, a lot of people say people in cartoons, characters in cartoons, weird.
Princess Leia as well. Oh my God. And I was always mad that she ended up with Harrison Ford, with who did he play in what was his name and
Han Solo.
Han Solo, because he was such a jerk, and I was like, why aren't you gonna end up with Luke Skywalker? And then I was like, oh, because it's your sister.
Spoiler alert. Right, I think that's it, isn't